Broker Bulletin acknowledges the traditional custodians of all the lands across the country on which we record our podcast and pays its respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Welcome to the Broker Bulletin podcast, where better begins. Join us as we chat with brokers about what's working for them, what drives them, and the real challenges and wins that matter most right now.
Hey everyone, welcome back to a brand new episode of Broker Bulletin. I'm Rob Thomas, National Director of Residential here at LMG, and today we're blessed to be talking to someone who is truly at the top of their game. To get insight into the way that he works and his business that have led to their absolutely enormous success. It's a pleasure to be joined by Michael Xia, who is the founder of Mortgage Channel here in Sydney. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Great to have you, Michael, and your story's an epic one, so I hope we can delve deep into the story and what's made you the success that you are.
Sure.
So, Michael, can you just talk us through your broker journey and how you started? What was the initial drive of you to get into the broker channel?
So this is my 10th year as a mortgage broker. So 2015 was when I started the business. I got into broking mainly because of my mortgage broker. So you would actually know him too, Rolf Latham.
The great Rolf Latham, yes, know Rolf well.
So the story goes back to 2013 is when I went down this rabbit hole and I just got very much interested in property investing. At the time, I had 2 properties. I watched these YouTube videos on people building their property portfolios, and I thought it as a means to leave work and then gain financial freedom. And at the time, I spoke to many mortgage brokers. I'm like, I've got these 2 properties. What's my borrowing capacity? What can I do? Every single broker just said, hey, you can buy 1 more property, 2 more properties. That's it. Until I met Rolf. Rolf pretty much drew out a whole mud map for me. Pretty much said, you're here. If you follow the right steps and do and execute the plan that I put together for you, I can get you up to 12 properties. And at the time, I'm like, that's insane. That's not possible. Fast forward 2 years and I went from 2 to 14 properties.
Oh.
So I just followed what he said to a T. And even to get hold of Rolf to be my mortgage broker was a struggle street. Like, Rolf is a busy man. And I remember emailing him, trying to get hold of him for 2 months until finally he thought, oh, okay, this guy is actually quite serious. And then he took me under his wing. So I followed his plan. My 14th property settled. And on that day, I handed him my resignation at work. I'm like, see you later.
And what were you doing at the time, Michael?
At the time, I was doing market research. So I've been in the market research industry up until then for 10 years. In the beginning, enjoyed it, but towards the end, just got jaded. So my role is, do you know how when you browse the internet, that pop-up which comes up to ask you to do a survey?
An annoying pop-up.
Correct. That was basically my job, to put that pop-up on you.
Thank you for that, Michael.
And then after 10 years, I'm just over it. So my whole goal going into property investing was to quit work. And during that time, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then looking back throughout that journey, I was like, if I could do something that Rolf did for me, then that would be amazing. I get to talk about property investing all day. I get to turn it into a business. So around about a year and a half into my investment journey, I went to Rolf and I said, can you be my mentor? And then that kind of built up from there. And then on the day that I handed in my resignation at work, the day after, I packed all my belongings in a car in Sydney and then drove up to the Gold Coast. And I worked from his office for the next 2.5 years.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Yeah. So if it wasn't for Rolf, there's no way, one, I would have learnt the trade of broking and also be where I am here. So a lot of things I owe to him.
And was it getting to that 12 properties, making it relatable and doable? Was that the sort of thing that got you over the line with using Rolf?
Yes, but I think the main thing for Rolf was he was the only broker that listened to my goals. And that's something that I've taken on board as a broker. In terms of getting finances, getting the loans, that's not really what the client wants. What they want is everyone has a goal. Sometimes people don't know what their goals are, but eventually when you flesh it out of them, you realize what their goals are. If they know and believe that you're the person that's going to help them get them to their goal, then they'll stick through with you thick and thin. As opposed to if a client uses you because you can get them an extra 0.1% rate discount, or then when some other broker or a banker gives them better, then off they go. So that's what Rolf did for me that was so powerful. He listened to what I wanted. My goal at the time was to quit work.
That's a great goal.
And I did everything in my power to do it as soon as I can. And as soon I realized Rolf is a man that's going to help me get there, then I became a great client. I was easy to work with. I listened to his advice. I didn't push back. I followed through in terms of his plan. And then 2 years later, he helped me achieve it.
That's unreal. That's so good. 2 years.
2 years, yeah. And those early days. So Rolf's office is in Nerang, as you know.
I know it well.
So upstairs from St. Vinny's. And for those listeners that don't know, Nerang will be like the rougher pocket of Gold Coast. And he is one of the best brokers in Queensland in the most unassuming location. And when we were there, it wasn't just me, but it was another friend of mine, Stephen Ryan. He went down exactly the same journey. We quit work within, I would say, about a month of each other. So we lived in the same Airbnb, worked in Rolf's office, literally saw each other 7 days a week.
So yeah, and you're both pushing each other.
Correct, exactly. Yeah. And we were doing, in the first year, we were doing some crazy hours, just learning the trade, building the business. And then over time in Rolf's office, I think at one point we had like 4 or 5 brokers, all from Sydney, all looking to grow their business. And it was that little kind of cohort of us that really pushed everyone further. Yeah.
So talk us through those first few years. Was there any time in those first, even say from 1 month to 2 or 3 years before you left the Gold Coast, was there any doubts? Like, is this the right choice?
So many doubts. Like early on, I remember just working in Rolf's office, driving to my Airbnb, sitting in the car, and just like had the engine running, just sitting there for like half an hour at the end of the day. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. Because early on, it's just so tough. I think you listen to people that are a little bit further on, they're like, oh, of course they could do it. But you weren't there right in the beginning to feel all of those doubts.
Yeah.
And to one point, I didn't have a lot of confidence in submitting deals because one, back then, this was around about 2015, if you were a diamond broker back then with CBA, you could get your loans assessed within a couple of days, whereas I was a pleb broker, so it took like 2 or 3 weeks. So I think for the first 50 deals, I didn't have confidence to put it under my code. I just put it all under Rolf's code.
Yeah.
But I mean, the reason was me thinking, potentially could get assessed faster. But the true reason was I just didn't have confidence even submitting those deals myself. But then eventually all you can do is just give it your all. And then over time, I'll probably say around about 3 to 4 month mark, then things started to click together. But early on, coming from market research, no banking experience, I'll look at a tax return and just freak out. I've never seen anything like this. And probably about 2 or 3 in as a broker, I still didn't know how financial statements, tax returns, all of that linked together, just had no idea.
And how did you get that knowledge? Is it self-taught or?
Self-taught, watching how Rolf did it. I'll show him the tax return and the financial statement. He'll give me the answer within 2 or 3 minutes, like the money goes here, money goes there. I just sit there for the next 2 hours, just still trying to figure it out. And then over time, you get all these exceptions back from an assessor. You ask them how you got that. Over a couple of years, and you slowly piece things together.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember early on, I went to like this training session from CBA, and they were saying, at the end of the year, the trust distributes all the income. And to me, I was like, does it really? So I was just so green. Yeah. But early on, it was tough. And then also just from a posture perspective, like, why should someone use you? There are so many other great brokers out there.
Yeah.
Sure, you've, got a property portfolio, but you don't know anything about broking. So early on, it was Rolf that helped me bridge that posture gap. Early on as a broker, it's very, very difficult.
What got you through those doubts?
One was having Rolf. Early on, that was one thing that Rolf told me is don't be afraid to say that you don't know it. And that was my most common answer early on. I'm like, I don't know, but I'll check with my mentor or I'll check with the bank and then come back to you.
Yep.
And I found that by saying that, people didn't have issues. So having a mentor in your corner was massive. And the other really good thing was also seeing Stephen, my buddy, going through that at the same time. So some days I feel terrible and I'll look over to him and he's just had 2 declines and that will make me feel a bit better.
While I'm in someone else's misery.
Yeah.
Someone a bit worse off than me.
Correct, yeah. But I think, starting out, and I see this with other brokers, when you're in your own vacuum, it just seems like the world, like it's just so hard and just everything just, blows up. But once you realize that every single other broker is going through exactly the same thing, it also normalizes it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's interesting because broking in itself is a lonely existence.
Oh,
but even in an
100%.
office with 4 or 5 brokers, it's still lonely because you've got your own issues to deal
Correct.
with.
Yeah. You've got your own issues. You've got your own clients, but having other people go down that same journey as yourself was a big reason how it got through that.
And then talk us through the decision then. You're up there for 2.5 years, you said?
2.5 years. Yeah.
So when did you make the decision, okay, I'm ready to unleash into the world in Sydney?
Sure.
What made you get to the point where you're confident in making that jump?
It was actually by chance. I met my missus, who actually was a client.
Is that allowed?
I don't know. So what happened was I was on the Gold Coast. She had purchased a property. She was based in Sydney. That was a Christmas break. So come back and see family. And I'm like, hey, let's go out and celebrate this settlement.
You're a kind broker, Michael.
Exactly. Yeah. Took her out to dinner. And then after that Christmas, never went back.
Oh, true.
Yeah, correct. So since I'm married and also 2 kids, but if I didn't meet her, who knows? I'll probably be still on the Gold Coast living in that Airbnb.
I don't think so for some reason, Michael.
Yeah. So that was the reason. It was by chance. But I mean, I had a great time on the Gold Coast. Yeah. It's a good lifestyle up there. Yeah.
What's the saying? Everything happens for a reason.
Correct. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's all. I didn't realize your wife was a client. Now, fast forward to today.
Yep.
What's the business look like today? Like volumes, staff?
Yeah. So business today, where myself, so I'm the only broker. So it's just me in Australia. My team is based offshore in the Philippines. We've got 18 staff members in the Philippines. And last year, financial year, we settled 490 million.
What was that percentage increase from the year before?
I think off the top of my head, the year before was a little bit shy of 250. So it was close to 100% increase. Yeah. Yeah.
And what drove that increase?
I think a mixture of things. One of the big reasons was we invested a lot in our offshore team. So for me, one of the main issues was just the processing output. I think also like some of the other things is just the business had been around for 10 years. And if you do the right thing by people, they're happy with your service, then they start to refer friends and family. It's pretty much an exponential growth in that sense that, if you start off with 2 clients and then refer and becomes 4 and so on and so forth. So we've seen that through the time that I've been in business. I remember early on, pretty much for about 2 years to 5 years, we were stuck around 50 mil, didn't seem to budge. And then just somehow overnight, it then jumped over to 100. If you asked me back then what I did differently, don't really know. I think it just came to a point where the threshold of clients then just increased. I mean, during that time, I do remember it was that period after COVID. So it was very hot market.
Yeah.
But once we reached to that, it never dropped after that. It was almost like the customer base then sustained it. During the recent times, yes, the market has picked up again in the last little bit, but the main reason is we increased our offshore team. So we doubled the team there. We could then handle more leads. It also meant that I could spend my time on things that only I could do from here, speaking to clients, bringing in new business. The other thing that also helped during that time is I went on a few podcasts that did really, really well through that viewership over time. And prior to then, like from a marketing sense, I would do a podcast a year. But once you've done enough of these, then someone would search your name and then you'll have like 5, 6, 7 podcasts pop up. By the time that they watched all of it, maybe early on when they watched one, they were like, that's great, not really sold. But after someone, if they like what you say and watch several podcasts, then they're a little bit more inclined to reach out. So I think that's why over time, it just meant that it was a bit easier for people to then come on board and then to reach out to Mortgage Channel.
And do you think your journey at the start where you wanted to get from 0 to 12 properties or 14 properties, showing your clients that it can be done and it's doable, do you reckon that's got you a real strong client relationship, that you've walked the journey, you've walked the walk?
Yeah, 100%. That's probably the most common feedback that I get, where they've used a broker, but the broker wasn't aligned with what they're looking to do. It's kind of like in that sense that if you're looking to do something, but the person helping you hasn't quite done it themselves, it's hard to take their advice. So when people reach out, they're like, you're walking the walk and talking the talk. So, and they can see the track record of that. That's what makes people want to reach out to. So yeah, absolutely. the investment journey early on has helped it. And then also there are things that unless if you go through it, you don't know, like from a lending sense, you don't know what the best solution is. But because I've had to do that myself, then I can provide that similar solution to clients.
An average day for you is probably not an average day for most people. Walk us through an average day for Michael Xia.
Do you know the funny thing with that is I had a broker recently just last week. He's an LMG broker too. And he's like, and we've been chatting a bit and he's like, look, I really want to sit in your office and just see what you do for a day.
Yep.
And I was like, I just wanted to set the expectations. It's freaking boring. Like, you're just going to be sitting there watching me answer emails for the entire day. He's like, no, it can't be. Came in. He left after lunch. So a typical day is I try to get to my desk about 7:30 to 8. But that really depends on the kids. It's like, if the kids come in the morning, they want you to read a book and stuff like that. They can then just get pushed out. But generally, I try to be at my desk at 8 and I try to answer as much of my emails before the team comes in. So the team, some of them come in at 9, some of them come in at 10. So the perfect case is when they come in, I've got the email sorted. Some days that's not possible. There's even times that it takes up until say noon or 1 o'clock to finish the backlog of emails. As soon as I finish the emails, I jump on calls with the team just to make sure that everyone's task for that day is set. And that could go on anywhere between half an hour to an hour and a half, speaking to everyone in the team. I'll go and grab a bite with the missus, come back, and then it's answering my phones. So up until now, I have my phone on silent. And then for that chunk for the next hour, I'm just returning phone calls. So probably the best thing that I do throughout the day is I segment everything.
Discipline.
Yeah. And I actually learned that from another broker. We caught up for lunch and he does huge volumes too. And I'm like, how can you deal with everything that happens during the day? And he goes, I just set a certain time to answer my emails, a certain time to answer my phones. And that's the only time. Because prior to that, I'll have my phone on, an assessor will call, I'll answer it, go back and I'm like, what email was I doing? Write half the email. A client reaches out. So pretty much the whole day I got nothing done. So since then, that's been a massive change. So I'll answer phone calls. And then from 4 o'clock onwards, I'll take 2 client calls. So every day I only just do 2 client calls.
You said to me earlier on this year that you've now reduced your new clients to 2 a day.
Yeah.
So is that hard to knock back new clients or you just try and fit them into the puzzle?
Yeah. So with these client calls, I try to give the most that I can. So even for new clients, onboarding them, I'd spend anywhere between 45 to an hour. But before we sit together, I've got all their information, all their fact find, what they want to do, what their goals are has been completely mapped out. So it's a very productive call. And I would say the conversion rate of those calls will be very high. But because of how much time and effort it takes, I can't do a lot of those. If I do 2 per day, then the max I can do in a week during weekdays is 10. If it gets really busy, then I might sprinkle some calls over the weekend. But that's all the time that I spend on generating new business.
And what percentage of your business would be repeat compared to new?
Oh, very high, very high. And I think that comes off also the goal basis. So we spend a lot of time in trying to flesh out what the goals are. So once we know what the client's trying to achieve, then all the subsequent loans is aligned towards that. Naturally, we work with a lot of investors. So as soon as you've done one pre-approval, it's been approved, we're then on to the next one and so on and so forth. So the majority of the clients will be based off repeat business.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose if you're getting in, you could be seeing these people, you could be doing 7 to 14 loans in your situation for the one client.
Correct. And that's what attracted me to the mortgage broking business, particularly because of what Rolf had done for me. I just felt that as a broker, your business is very much aligned with the client's interest. If you can serve the client really well and they're growing their property portfolio and they're doing really, really well from the investments, appreciating value, then you as a broker will also do well out of it too. You're writing more loans, your trail book is growing. So I felt if you could educate the client and do really well by them, then your business also wins. So, and I saw that firsthand with how Rolf helped me.
Yep. And with that, like you nearly did, I think, nearly 1,000 loans last year.
Correct. Yeah. I think it was just over 1,000 loans. Yes.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had to gain some process efficiencies. What are some of the key process efficiencies in the last 2 to 3 years that's helped you go from that 50 million up to to nearly 500 mil.
If I told you, like, you'll probably be shocked. Like, I don't think I'm that efficient.
Yeah, we've spoken about this.
Correct, yeah. So it's like, in terms of process flow, I don't have a process flow in the sense I don't like use my CRM for any of that. A lot of the tracking is just based off a diary. It's like a Word document that I have on the drive.
Which we're talking about that, aren't we?
Correct, yeah. I mean, there's just so many things in the business that can be done better. But I think also the issue that I have at the moment is I'm so busy working in the business as opposed to on the business. And I realize that. So I think that if we made it more efficient, we could actually get through a lot. But to answer your question, I think one thing that we've done really, really well is kind of taken the McDonald's approach and apply that to mortgage broking. So for each part of the loan process, I've segmented and I have specialized people in the team only working on that. Yeah. So I've got team members that only name supporting documents, team members that only do valuation and also pricing, team members that only assess the loans, and then another team putting it into Apply Online and My CRM, other team members chasing lenders, post-settlement. So that whole journey is segmented, which means then the people that are doing those roles become highly efficient. Like otherwise, and I've tried end to end, and there are pros and cons to both approaches. But if I try to do end to end with that many applications, we just couldn't get through that volume.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's off following McDonald's model where they've segmented everything. There was another book that I read that was very good. It's called The E-Myth Revisited. And it's just talking about small businesses, how you can scale. And that was kind of like the one key things that they talked about. After introducing that, and we started off with, one team member doing end to end, two team members end to end. It's when we shifted to this model, then the capacity in the overall team has grown dramatically. And I've seen that with other brokers when they made that change, the amount that they could process in the back end then increased a lot. But there are also disadvantages of that. A client, instead of having one touch point, has 5 or 6 people that they need to deal with. And I've had feedback about it. So I've yet to find one that's perfect. Each one has its own pros and cons.
With that feedback around the 5, 6 people, does it generally end up leading to all roads lead to Michael?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So, I mean, the team are great. They're very good at the individual areas that they're looking at, but it also does mean that I need to kind of have oversight of the files. So if there's a file that falls apart, needs troubleshooting, I'm still the one that has to then step in. And that does take up a huge chunk of time because, yes, you're right, all leads eventually do lead back to me.
And the outsourcing isn't an overnight success. I know you've worked long and hard to get the right team members and the right number of outsourcing participants. Do you think it's going to grow more, or you're comfortable with that 19 to 20?
I think we'll bring on some more. I think that, it's a continual process. And we've been in the Philippines, I'll say about 7 years now. And it's gone through so many different iterations, from using outsourcing companies, from using, you would hire someone, but so kind of what I mean by outsourcing is using another company to process everything for you. So we did that very early on. And then we hired someone, but used like a company that hires that person for you. We've tried so many different iterations. But now we hire direct, and we also have our own BPO company there because of how many people that we have there. But it's gone through many, many different iterations, and it's taken time. And I would say we've really only got a really good solid team based there over the last couple of years. For so many years there, it's been a trial and error process.
So where to from here? I know you've spoken about putting on other brokers. Where do you think in the next short to medium term future for Mortgage Channel is?
I would say to that point, yes, bring on some brokers. I think there's only so much time in the day and so much that you could get through. So I think then having some brokers in Mortgage Channel to then free up my time and also for them to help out with the volume, then that will be brilliant. I think building out the team a little bit more in the Philippines. I think a lot of it at the moment will be focused on the back end. So trying to make that to be a little bit more efficient. Things like putting in, the process flow.
Yeah.
I just think there's so many little wins that we can then do throughout the business to make that a bit more efficient. And then, continue to increase the volume, which at the moment, given how the market is, I think that's going to happen regardless across the board. And
do you think the absolute size of your business now makes it even harder to do slight adjustments to your workflows and all that? Is that one of your...
Yes. And
scares you?
Correct. Yeah. And we've actually had a couple of cracks at it. Or we've had 2 cracks at it. And every time it came to the implementation of it, it's probably more so pushback from myself, where you've got this process that's humming along.
Yeah.
Like, it's not great, and I know it's not great, but to then change everything, uproot everything, then track through this, get then every team trained up on that. It was just, as there's volumes flowing through, that's been the issue. But I do think if we then can free up a bit of time in working in the business, but working on the business, then I think then they will take it to the next level. But yeah.
I can't wait to see what you do when you do get that efficiencies, Michael. It's going to be a joy to watch. Future aspirations for you and the industry. Where do you see yourself ending up in this game? Or is there an end point? You just want to keep going the way you're going and smashing it?
Well, I think it's like, and I also reflect back, there was like a period of time when I kind of mentioning from, I would say, years 3 to 5-ish, where the business was hovering around 50 mil settlements for a number of years. And I remember at that time not enjoying broking. It's, I was saying to my missus, we should, like, selling the business was like a conversation we'll have every second day. But now you could see the business growing. You could see that you are hitting these goals that you're putting. It's more exciting than ever. So I would say, as long as I'm enjoying it and also find it fulfilling, then we'll keep doing it and keep striding for those goals. I think the highest ever, like, one single broker settlement in a year was just shy of 600 mil. So fingers crossed we crack that. But, I'm sure a lot of brokers will really start pushing for that this coming year. So yeah, I think as long as it's enjoyable, as long as we're growing the business, what's that saying? If you're not growing, you're dying. We're growing the business and enjoyable, we keep doing it. Yeah. And yeah, I think the next little bit over the next couple of years will be a golden age for broking, particularly where the market is. So I think it's really for the next little bit, make hay while the sun shines.
That's awesome, mate. That's awesome. And you've always got a smile on your face, Michael. Someone who writes the volumes you do, I've never seen you without a smile on your face. How do you keep, are you like a duck? Are you paddling hard under the water, or?
No, no, like, I think you just haven't seen me in the office.
Good answer.
It's like that thing. So I love touch football. It's like, but when you step on the field and you play, it's like game face on. And that's the same in broking. When I'm in the office, no cracking jokes, just get through the work. But once you leave that, you're off the field, then, have a laugh. So yeah.
That's great. So here at Broker Bulletin, we're all about finding those small wins that lead to big wins. What are those small little 1%ers that you've done that you can give a tip to the audience that has led to a big win for you?
So I think the one that I got from the other broker that helped immensely just throughout the day was just to segment the time. And before I did it, I didn't realize how much it would add value to my day. So, having a certain time answering your emails, having a certain time returning phone calls, having a certain time for taking calls with new clients, making sure that's segmented and laid out every single day. That's been a huge game winner. And probably the other thing I was actually chatting over the last broker dinner is actually just taking vitamins. Like, I actually found, because now getting a little bit, past 40.
Don't mention anything, Michael.
But just recently been going on this health. Like, I am thinking that if you can keep your mind sharp, healthy, then that's really kind of the only thing that's stopping you. So things that have really helped dealing with stress that I've found for myself has been magnesium.
Oh.
So magnesium, really, really good for sleeping, very good for dealing with stress. So started taking magnesium glycinate recently, and that's been phenomenal. And the other thing that's helped recently too is there's actually a lot of research on creatine. So creatine, generally, you'll take it to go to the gym for muscle building. But what they've done research on recently is your brain uses huge amounts of creatine. And if you're sleep deprived and you're finding that you've got a foggy brain, can't remember, then taking creatine improves that a lot. And I've noticed in myself where after taking creatine, my memory of certain deals is like so much better. Because, at one point in time, there could be anywhere between 200 to 250 deals going on. I can start to remember where a lot of these are, whereas previously I would just have no idea. I have to look through my notes. And I found the same thing for my missus, because my missus, she takes the kids at night and doesn't sleep too well, and she would always just complain of a foggy brain. But since she started taking creatine, that's completely gone now.
Where do you get this stuff from, Michael?
Creatine.
Is it legal?
No. So it's like one of the most researched supplements.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I've heard it a lot. Since you mentioned it at the dinner, it's like those things when you haven't heard it.
Yep.
And you keep hearing it.
Correct. Yeah. So encourage everyone to go on YouTube. There's been a really good podcast from a guy called Diary of a CEO, and then search on his podcast in terms of creatine, and there's some really good content there. So
I'm about 200 kilos of it, I think.
Yeah.
Well, to wrap up today, my biggest takeaway from seeing the awesome success you've had, Michael, is firstly having a great mentor or someone you can bounce ideas off. Second is discipline. And the third one, which you've mentioned a couple of now, is that segmentation of your day.
Yeah, 100%.
So thanks so much, Michael, for your time. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and to see someone who's so awesome at their craft share with the audience. So thanks so much, Michael, for your time, and have a great day.
No, thanks, Rob. Enjoyed it.
Thanks for tuning in to Broker Bulletin. We would hate for you to miss an episode. Subscribe to Broker Bulletin in your favourite podcast app. Has this episode been helpful? We'd love you to rate and review us. It'll help us deliver content that's useful to you and help others discover us. If you have great ideas for topics worth tackling or have burning questions you'd like addressed on an upcoming episode, reach out. Links in the show notes. See you next time.